1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Great.
There's 8 people here.
8
All
people.
right.
Can you guys see that, the title screen?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Hey, Abigail.
All right, everyone.
Yay.
Welcome to the January 5th, first of the year Minneapolis Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. I just want to notice that this meeting may involve the remote participation by members, either by telephone or other electronic means, due to the local public health emergency pursuant to the provisions of Minnesota Statute Section 13D-021. Hi, and welcome, everybody. First up, I guess, Millicent, you'll give us a roll call.
I have to call the roll. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Aaron? Nope. Abigail?
Here.
Austin? Barb?
Oop, he's on it. He's on.
I'm here.
Are you here, Austin?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's great. Christopher Hoffer?
Here.
Christopher Ross? Harmony?
Here.
Hello. Julia?
Here.
Matthew Steinruck? Neil?
Present and accounted for.
Paul? Peter?
Here.
Raina?
Here.
Mhm.
Mayor? Carrie? Jordan? Emma?
He's in.
Jordan's
here.
Jordan's here. Emma? Eric? Tom? Heidi? Here. Julie?
Yes, I am here.
Yay.
Hey, Julie. Mackenzie?
Ah.
Ratana? Steve?
Hmm.
Suzanne? Millicent? I'm here. Chris Kartheiser? Matthew Deardahl?
Here.
Oh, we have 14 present.
All right. Thanks, Millicent. Next up for the agenda would be to adopt the agenda and accept the meeting minutes from our December 1st meeting as attached to the agenda on limbs. And we'll do a roll call vote of acceptance.
Abigail?
Yes.
Austin? Austin?
He's muted.
He must be.
Okay. Barbara?
Yes.
Christopher Hoffer?
Yes.
Harmony?
Was that Harmony? Yes.
Yes. Julia?
Yes.
Neil?
Yes.
Peter? Peter?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we have 8 who said yes to the agenda in the minutes.
All right. Thank you. And we just ask that if everyone who can mute themselves, please do, so that when we hear the next up on the agenda, the engineering subcommittee report, that we can hear them clearly. Take it away, engineering chairs.
Sure. I'll give them that report. There was one item on the docket, the Lowry Avenue Northeast reconstruction. It was stated to be at 15%. Forrest Hardy from the Minneapolis Public Works and Kelly Augusta from Hennepin County presented, predominantly Kelly. There are 2 phases to the plan. Phase 1 is between Washington and Johnson Streets, and then phase 2 is between Marshall and Washington Streets. And the second phase is a separately funded and to be planned phase and will be constructed after the completion of phase 1. The presentation, therefore, mainly concentrated on phase 1. The anticipated schedule of the reconstruction is in 2021, they've been doing concept design. And then in 2022, they're going to do design and engineering for phase 1. 23 and 24 will be the actual construction of phase one or anticipated construction. In 25, they'll shift to do design and engineering for phase two, and then do construction of phase two planned for 2026. The purpose of this, the stated objective by Hennepin County is a sentence, and it states the goal is to make the corridor safer, welcoming, and overall more livable to all users by implementing bicycle and pedestrian facilities and enhancing the streetscape to support a vibrant small business corridor. With that being said, there had been prior studies and engagements that were referenced, basically two predominantly. There is the 2002 Lowry Avenue corridor plan, and then a subsequent 2015 Lowry Avenue corridor plan. So obviously engagement has been going on for a long time, basically this whole century. So the current concepts for the work, again, focusing on phase one, is that the design concepts as currently evolved indicate a potential shared use path on the south side of Lowry, and wider sidewalks on the north of the south. Bump outs are also being considered, with the traffic lanes reduced to 2 with a median in some parts, and 2 travel lanes with a center turn lane, left turn lane. Additionally, and just to point out that there's 2 concurrent plans that are being worked on and presented. And for example, one plan does have a shared use path on the south side of Lowry, while the other plan presented had no bicycle facility at all. Interestingly, there was a discussion in actually both of the plans to use eminent domain between 3rd and 4th Streets to take private property to move southwest the traffic lanes on either side of University. I heard the discussion on that, but I honestly remain unclear why that is. It has to do with turning on University. But there was questioning and discussion pursuant to that, is that, well, there doesn't have to be that work to be done on Central Avenue. Why does it have to be done on University? And I don't think there was a dispositive answer to that, but it is being considered. At the end of the presentation, sort of a draft resolution was discussed briefly and then put together thanks to Barb's laboring oar. And that states, the PAC appreciates this project's effort to improve on the current configuration of the Lowry Avenue Northeast corridor, including the narrowed vehicle lanes, the shared use trails, and improved intersection design. However, the PAC has reservation about the assumptions, standards, and goals present in the phase of design drafting. These reservations currently include the size of the design model for University intersection, particularly regarding right turns, in light of lanes remaining narrow for right turns at Central Avenue. 2, designing for motor vehicle traffic growth on Lowry and rejection of climate crisis mitigation efforts and prioritizing bike and pedestrian usage. And then finally, 3, continuing design work on a second concept which does not include a shared use path or other bicycle facility for the western portion of this project. Thank you. This, it says it's at 15%, but there's a lot of work. I think the presentation admitted that there's a lot of work to do, and they're just coming off the concept design. But now in 2022, the actual design and engineering will be begun. Obviously, they'll be coming back, but I think that's the report. And are there any questions I can attempt to answer?
So you didn't hear why University Avenue needs that word, or you didn't give you a good answer?
Well, I honestly, I listened to it and I don't know why they wanted to move that section in an arc to a southerly direction. I mean, it obviously, to me, only can do with turning onto University, but they don't plan to do a similar revision at Central. So I remain unclear as to why. That discussion did somewhat turn around the model vehicles being used and the size of the vehicle, which, if I understand correctly, is a size of vehicle that is not used within the city of Minneapolis for design purposes. I think Chris told us that. So it's a big vehicle. They're making accommodations for it, and we'll see if it survives past 15%. But I'll have to say, just on a personal note, if they're going to start using eminent domain to accommodate very large truck traffic, I wish they could do it to accommodate very large sidewalks and shared use pathways and everything else. I can think of a couple of options. So
they didn't
anyway.
Even on Hennepin South, we lost sidewalk width because they wouldn't even take the encroachments onto the sidewalk. They refused to challenge. So it's not like eminent domain would be a step beyond what would be better than what we see from the city in protecting sidewalk right of way. And when that width was lost, we lost all of it. None of it was taken from car space when they didn't want to challenge the encroachments.
Yeah, it's this is just my personal opinion again. I think it's stated at 15%, but it's early in the process. But I think the draft resolution highlights a few issues, but then when they come back at 30%, I think we'll have a more meaningful discussion over specifics, and hopefully only one proposal and not two with no bicycle facilities. But with that being said, I heard a second on the motion, and I will just be quiet now, and we'll see what the chair requests.
Sure, I think at this time, does anyone have any questions or edits to the resolution itself? All right, hearing none, we can take this resolution as it stands to a roll call vote.
You ready? Okay, Abigail?
Yes.
Austin?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Hoffer?
Yes.
Harmony?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
Neil?
Aye.
Peter?
Yes.
That's dedication. Raina?
Yes.
Okay, we have 9 yes.
Awesome. Christopher or Barb, any other final notes on the infrastructure and engineering meeting this last month?
No,
I have none.
No, me neither.
No.
Great. Thanks so much. Awesome. So then next up is the Programs and Policies Subcommittee report.
Alrighty, that one will be me. And we have rather lengthy resolutions for all of the points. So I might just jump into those, knowing that we now have the video of all meetings online as well. So hopefully that's okay. And we can talk about them in any questions at the end of each of the resolutions. I don't know, Abigail, do you want us to pass them individually or as a cluster?
Yeah, I'd say let's, since they are kind of lengthy and we can then just do it and there's a small number of us voting, why don't we pass each one individually after we discuss it and make any edits? Okay, great.
Okay, perfect. So, and feel free to also ask questions in that discussion. Yeah, okay. So our first resolution is on the CIP for the 2022 cycle. This year, the Pedestrian Advisory Committee calls for Public Works to change its approach to the CIP process and the way we interact with our streets. Instead of a piecemeal project-by-project shift of our current street grid, we need rapid system-wide changes. Given the cataclysmic data around climate breakdown that has come out through the UN's International Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, in 2021, Minneapolis is poised for rapid transportation shifts. Minneapolis has adopted climate emergency language and groundbreaking policies around changing transportation modes, but cars still rule the road. Car infrastructure in and of itself is a barrier to walking, biking, and quick public transit, as much as it contributes to climate change. Thus, the PAC finds the yearly CIP process to be, as it currently exists, a contributor to climate breakdown. CIP continually prioritizes concrete pouring for rapid personal vehicle use, even if it marginally makes biking and walking feel safer. Reducing vehicle traffic by transitioning streets to limit car capacity while increasing walking, biking, and transit use reduces the wear and tear cost of road maintenance. Transitioning streets to these more economical modes is also cheaper to enact, freeing funds for considering and creating new infrastructure to handle cataclysmic weather events like more freeze-thaw cycles or increasingly frequent and severe flooding as the climate transitions. So a second on that would be great. Before we move into.
There's
Did
more
we,
of it.
were we supposed to, were we supposed to add the program
Sorry.
recommendation?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sorry.
No problem.
I caught myself in that yesterday and then didn't see it today. Sorry. Okay. Ignore my interlude. Program recommendation. Adding paint, bollards, planters, and parklets has proven to be a quick and inexpensive way to create bus lanes, bike lanes, and more walking space on paved roads. We call for a 2-time $20 million CIP program to implement these tools at scale citywide immediately. By doing so, we can transition our street system to meet crucial TAP and climate emergency goals within our ever-shortening global timeframe. This program also furthers Vision Zero as it shifts entire streets and corridors quickly to convert more miles and reduce VMT, vehicle miles traveled. Examples are creating corridor bus lanes, 4-to-3 conversions, increasing sidewalk widths beyond the curb, and adding bike lane connections. This would create an effective and a complete grid for those on bikes, walking and rolling, and encourage public transit use. Rapid transition is necessary, and it must begin this year. We call on Public Works, the mayor, city council, and the clique to face your responsibility and use your authority to make this transition happen. Future generations depend on your decisions today.
Second.
So if
Thanks,
anybody
Julia.
has suggestions or questions, discussion on this item.
Really?
If-
No one has. Okay, I know that this kind of moves away from what we did last year, but we did discuss it in depth at PMP, so I'm happy to hear that no one has comments or edits. Julia?
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to say something.
No, sorry, I just am not muted in case I
Go.
needed to, but I'll mute myself now for roll call or vote call.
Yeah, if no one else is making any comments, then we can move it right to a vote.
Okay. All right. Abigail,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Harmony,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Gil,
All right.
Peter,
Aye.
You-
Aye, thank you.
you say aye?
Yes,
have
yes,
to-
aye.
Okay, great. I have to hear you. Raina,
Yes.
wonderful. We have 9 yeses for that resolution.
Tom Tao.
And moving on to the ADA transition plan. That one we discussed in the November meeting, but then we had a discussion about a resolution in part propelled by some comments from others in the city who are also concerned about accessibility. So the resolution reads as follows. The Pedestrian Advisory Committee is disappointed by the draft Minneapolis Americans with Disability Act, ADA, transition plan released by Public Works in November 2021. The current draft fails to identify existing accessibility barriers to walking and rolling in Minneapolis and lacks a concrete plan to address them 31 years after the ADA was enacted. Our concerns are listed below. We ask for Public Works staff to return to the Programs and Policy Subcommittee to present responses. 1, most dissatisfying is the plan in the plan is the self-assessment section, which neither identifies specific accessibility barriers nor provides a timeline for assessment or action. The 4 infrastructure accessibility barriers in the public right-of-way are named, but no actionable steps are outlined in the transition plan. 2, ADA compliant curb ramps. Public Works collected data on curb ramps in 2012, but the plan states that additional data on curb ramps needs to be collected and analyzed. It does not acknowledge how many years it will take to fix non-compliant ramps using the $500,000 budgeted per year for specifically this purpose, nor when this additional data will be collected. 3, traffic signals. The plan notes that Public Works completed an inventory of traffic signals in 2019, but data is currently being processed without a specific timeline. This data needs to be included in the transition plan before the document can be considered complete and must include a timeline for transitioning all traffic signals and removing any barriers. 4, sidewalks. The plan states that planning for a sidewalk inventory is underway. This means that as of 2021, the city of Minneapolis does not have a comprehensive inventory of sidewalk conditions, sidewalk gaps, non-compliant sidewalks, and barriers within the sidewalk right-of-way. This statement is followed by a vague commitment to complete a sidewalk inventory by some undetermined date. It is unbelievable that Public Works does not collect this data through the self-assessment process and that they considered the draft plan complete without it. 5, street crossings. The transition planning effort also failed to identify barriers through the self-assessment process. A concrete timeline of when this data will be collected and assessed needs to be created for this plan. 6, where the plan mentions winter sidewalk maintenance, sidewalk cafes, construction barriers, and other irregular encroachments, it lacks specific actions or policy changes to address them. The plan must address the need for additional resources to address temporary accessibility barriers. 7, the transition plan needs comprehensive community engagement that includes increased diversity of respondents, including but not limited to disability type, race, ethnicity, age, income, gender, and sexual orientation. In addition, the plan should do more than incorporate these findings to inform recommendations, pages 2 to 11. Rather, the plan should provide meaningful steps to ensure community is updated on project accomplishments and consulted for additional engagement throughout ADA project planning. For Minneapolis to meet its TAP and climate emergency goals, it must have a robust effort to remove accessibility barriers. This is also required per ADA law. The draft transition plan in its current form shows that Public Works does not have such a plan, nor is one being created. We welcome responses to our concerns from Public Works. Thank you.
Second.
Second. Jinx. I have one note / edit. I know that when we discussed this at PNP, if you just want to scroll up a little bit, Millicent, in number 6 on the last line, the word temporary, I think our goal was to actually use the word recurring, because they are things that like temporarily impact the sidewalk, but happen again and again every year. So I think that was one of the edits that I remember from PNP, if that sounds good to everyone.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
I have a sort of, sorry.
Since we're on that paragraph, that's why jumping in. I think we used recurring earlier in the paragraph.
We do? Oh,
I seem to think we did. Oh, irregular. I beg your pardon. Thank you. I'm out.
yeah.
Okay. Yes, Julia, and then we have 4 hands up.
Oh, okay. I would put temporary in quotes. Some of them are years long, so they're not just recurring. Some of them, like construction barriers, have been there for years without being addressed. That's all.
Recurring and temporary then?
Or / temporary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
think-
with
yeah, I think either
temporary
one.
in quotes.
Yeah. One of these should have a slash in it.
I love the /
Oh, slash, great. That's what we're saying.
Okay,
Kidding.
that looks good. I think first hand up was Heidi's.
Oh, this is just a clarifying question since I was at Programs and Policies Committee. Did they have an actual draft of the plan update or just that PowerPoint? I was just looking on the city's website for the draft of the plan, and it was just the plan that was adopted in 2020. Do they have an actual draft anywhere?
I honestly don't recall from November.
They do. If you want, I could put a link in the chat if you want to see it.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I guess I was just, when I was reading the resolution, I was like, oh, there's a, I just ask, like from the council, like we have to report ADA transition plan status to Federal Highway on a regular basis. And so we collect links to different plans. And so I was just kind of, oh, there's a draft. I couldn't find it. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Austin. And then Austin, your hand is also up, so.
Oh, good. Then I'll just keep talking. I think the last paragraph, like our summary paragraph, I agree it is important for Minneapolis to meet our TAP and climate and emergency goals. But I think it's also really important for Minneapolis to be a livable city for all individuals, including those with disabilities. So could we perhaps just add one more line there that says maybe like for Minneapolis to meet its TAP and climate emergency goals and also be a livable city for all individuals?
Yeah, do you just want, if you can see the screen, you can direct Millicent at it.
Yeah, I think, Melissa, you captured that pretty well. Thank you.
Thanks, Austin.
Well done.
Christopher Hoffer?
Yes, it's just a small request. In paragraph or bullet point 4, the last sentence, let me see. Okay. Could we consider removing the word unbelievable? It just strikes me as a touch too casual, and replace it with something like notable deficiency. And that sounds a little too much,
Or even
but
just notable, like it's notable the Public Works does not collect
Yeah.
this data through self-assessment. Like
yep,
it's
that's
something
better. Yep,
Yeah.
I agree.
because it was we noticed it. Yeah, and unbelievable also sounds like
we believed it.
roll your eyes at it. Yeah.
Kathleen's perfectly, she's credible, but we believed it already.
Peter, your
Look at the
hand up?
patterns.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I would
right.
say puzzling is defensible in that context. Also, since we don't do links in the chat, Austin, do you have some guidance for Heidi within the camera in the meeting here to help Heidi search for the draft, like search for the plan, like whereabouts you found it when searching. Since
Yeah,
we can't put links in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I did place a link in the chat. You can disregard that. I was able to Google Minneapolis ADA transition plan, and it's the first link that pops up for me. It's housed, if you go to government departments, public works, there is a section for ADA transition.
Matthew, do you think that you could take that link and email it to everyone in attendance today, specifically Heidi?
Yes, we'll get that for sure.
Okay. After the meeting? Thanks, Matthew.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess it would just clarify if that's the 2020 plan or if there's a revised version after the adopted 2020 plan.
Yeah, Matthew, I don't know
Well,
if you,
yeah, well,
okay.
I'll make sure you have an answer to that for sure. I just got to double check what's public right now, meaning like what's publicly available online versus what we haven't posted yet. So I just need to double check.
Thanks.
I'm going to do that now.
Thanks. Anyone else with notes or comments on this resolution or the ADA transition plan? Okay, so we'll go to a roll call vote to adopt the resolution as amended.
Abigail,
Yes.
Austin,
Yes.
Barbara, yes. Christopher,
Yes.
Minnie,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Neil,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Raina,
Yes.
it's 9 yes.
Yeah.
All right, Julia. The rest of PMP.
Alrighty. Yes, we've got one more resolution on neighborhood traffic calming While the Pedestrian Advisory Committee supports the goals of the Neighborhood Traffic Calming Request Program, we believe the process needlessly delays and impedes traffic calming measures from being implemented. Requiring requests to pass a neighborhood organization, which can only veto and not expedite, is unnecessary. Requests should proceed straight to the Public Works scoring process with minimal delay. When scoring requests under this program, the PAC believes it is incumbent on the city to meet two basic obligations: to ensure the right of all people, including those who are poor and/or disabled, to move freely and without fear of injury or death, and to ensure that implemented measures do not harm community health by diverting traffic onto dense corridors where the majority of pedestrian severe injuries and deaths occur and are already subject to higher concentrations of motor vehicles.
Second.
Thank you.
The cold's freaking me out.
Any questions or discussion?
What to do? Where was this here? Can we change last paragraph, injuries, severe injuries to pedestrians? If I'm, it's not there, yeah.
I think the goal was,
Where the majority-
to make sure it's pedestrian injuries and pedestrian deaths, but just without repeating pedestrian.
Maybe that's enough. Take
Is that in
severe-
the last
Maybe-
bullet?
That's in the
In
last.
the
bullet.
last bullet, Millicent, should we remove the, to me, to clarify, it would be just to remove the word severe,
Yeah, that'd be enough.
but yeah, because then it's pedestrian injuries and deaths. Does that make more sense, Neil?
Yeah, I don't care if they're severe or not, they shouldn't be injured in the first place.
Yes, you're right.
I mean, I want to be, but
Christopher Hoffer, your hand is up.
Yeah, I apologize for not knowing this, but what was the deal with the neighborhood organizations? Could someone just fill that in a little bit for me?
Basically, they, according to the proposed process, they would bring the request to a neighborhood organization, which if the neighborhood organization didn't want it, that would be the end of the process. Like they were repeatedly checking in with neighborhood orgs. So there wasn't any way to expedite it. And then it was also problematic just given the structures of neighborhood orgs and the ways they divide renter power and different things, at least in my perspective.
So it expressly provided a veto at the neighborhood?
Yes. Yes.
So I think it's always good to get neighborhoods involved, but I just think they should be a source of community engagement. Just, you know, if they say what they want and that, but a veto is too much. I mean, it that kind of surprises me. That. Yeah, no, they should. I mean, it doesn't need a veto. I mean, that doesn't really make any sense to me. So thanks for the explanation.
Yep.
Peter?
No, I think it's covered. I just wanted to add that it, even the neighborhood organization not vetoing it doesn't have to be any further step, because the city is going to, you know, also as described in this program, the city too is going to make the judgment as to whether it's needed and what particular, you know, what particular method they're going to use for calming.
Yeah, one of the pieces in there that I thought was good was that they're asking people to share where they see problems, not what they think the solutions are. And I think that that specific request of community isn't always clear. So people weigh in with what they view the problem or what they view the solutions being, rather than letting our engineers and planners understand what the problem is and then use their expertise to solve it. Any other questions or comments, edits? If not, I'll mute myself for the vote.
all right.
Thanks, Julia.
Ready?
Yeah.
Abigail?
Yes.
Austin?
Yep.
Barbara?
Yes.
Christopher?
Yes.
Harmony?
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Bill,
Aye.
Aye.
Dana,
Yes.
we have 9 yes for the neighborhood traffic calming resolution.
Thank you. Julia or Peter, any last notes or comments on the PNP meeting this last month?
I have a quick update.
It was a dense
Abigail.
one. We had a really good turnout and a lot of good talk and discussion and a lot of good work on the tag team work on the resolutions afterwards. I appreciate all that.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, Matthew, you have an update?
Yeah, quick answer to the ADA question. So the existing plan is the link that Austin referred to that we'll send out. But I confirmed that it goes to TMP, or actually it goes to City Council. It's not TMPW anymore. It's Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. It's going to go probably in late February or March, so it hasn't gone through that cycle yet, and then is not online either. So that is my update I was able to get from the project manager, Amy.
Thanks, Matthew. So Heidi, hopefully that answers your question. That feels, yeah, so I think our comments will come in time to Public Works so that they could hopefully address some of that stuff before it goes to City Council. All right. So next up on the agenda is the 2022 appointments discussion. If you're ready, Matthew.
Yes. I don't think I have a ton for this item, but basically I just wanted to give everyone a heads up, especially the folks that will be needing to reapply, which I think it should be about 7 of you. I don't have the list off the top of my head, but I can get that coming up. In March, probably we'll release the applications, and they'll probably do sometime in April. And then we'll go through a selection process after that and get them approved by City Council. But we put this agenda item on the BAC and the PAC mainly just to see if there's any questions or discussion about how this will go with the new government structure. And in some ways, I don't have a lot of answers on that. I assume that it'll stay the same because the enabling resolution for the PAC has a fairly clear process that we do bring it to the Transportation and Public Works Committee, which again is different now, for approval. But I guess we'll just open that up and see if there's any questions about that process. We also typically have it on the agenda for PMP. We can probably do that in January and see if there's more discussion. By then I can have all the names of the folks that are needing to reapply. But yeah, I guess that's basically all I have right now. I think one other thing, the BAC was talking about just potentially reaching out to their council members, especially the new ones. And it's a little different with the BAC because they are directly appointed by their respective council member, whereas the PAC is completely at large. So it isn't quite as one-on-one of a relationship with a council member in your ward. So that's just a little bit of a context that I wanted to share tonight. Any questions or thoughts on this?
I realize.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Maybe it's
Julie.
a different discussion, but I think that sort of making sure we're reaching out to new council members is a good idea to do at some point, but that might be a different conversation from the appointments.
Well, sure, and maybe something with the appointments and reaching out to council members, we could just have something on the agenda for the PMP to talk about it in more depth this month.
That would be, yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. Okay. Sounds good.
Neil?
What was I gonna say? Well, we still are appointed by the council then.
As far as I know, nothing has changed.
Right.
And to be more specific, in the resolution, the way it's described is that my position and the chair and vice chair of Team PW meet to make the decision and then forward the recommendation to council. So that's how it has typically worked.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good.
Anyone else with questions or comments to Matthew? Lovely. Thanks for the updates, Matthew. We look forward to hearing more.
Yeah.
Especially with changes. That's all for the agenda. I'll take announcements now if you want to raise your hand. And then barring that, if anyone speaks up.
I just remind people that there is an open house for Hennepin Avenue between Douglas and Lake Street that is coming up on the 13th of January with the city of Minneapolis. And there's also a comment period that closes, I believe, the 28th. The January 13th public meeting is at 4:30, and the comments are 24/7. For anyone who wants to weigh in. I don't know if that's coming in front of us this month. Matthew, I don't know if maybe you could send out the information about the city engagement for us to also share with our communities.
Sorry, regarding Hennepin, what were you asking for me to share?
If you can share the information about the comment period and the open house. And as a reminder, because this is one of the few city streets that's a community corridor that the city controls, it's fairly, even if it's a neighborhood street that is relatively limited, like roughly a mile, but whatever happens here will really impact streets around the city. It'll be the standard for what we can expect from the county, since they tend to be much more car centric than our city staff are in their designs and layouts. So it has broad, and it's a destination for people all around the city, and for jobs and schools and institutions and everything. So that's my pitch for that, and I'm hoping Matthew can send out that information for ways to engage with the city, especially, and that can be shared with broader networks, and especially if they're not coming to us in front of I&E for us to weigh in.
Thanks, Julia.
Julia, I have a question. Is that open house and in person open, or is it online?
It's online.
Okay, good. I was
Yeah,
hoping, when you say open house, I think, are we going back? No, we can't be with Omicron.
Oh, gosh. I wish the city were, luckily this is still virtual.
Great.
Thanks, Julia. I don't see any hands, but I see that a new person, Benjamin, is on. If you'd like to speak up and say hello and introduce yourself.
Hey, sure. My name is Ben Carrier. Nice to meet you all. I'm the new policy aide in the Ward 1 City Council office, working with Elliot Payne. He's the new council member for Ward 1. So yeah, I just put in the chat my email address, and the policy associate, Ward 1, his name's Liam. I put his email address in there as well. You can reach out to us anytime.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And
nice
then,
to meet
you. Oh yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, maybe for the BAC, we lost our council aide, Robin Garwood. So you should, if you want to talk around on your maybe virtual third floor or the real third floor, we'll need a new member there at some point. So if I would just bring that up.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
Well, that never occurred to me. Of course, when Cam goes, Robin goes. That's how it works. Interesting.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Ben. Thanks for coming to the meeting. We hope to see you again, and that you enjoyed what we do here. Anyone else have any other announcements? or news to share?
How about Julie?
Not this month, not too much to say, unless you're interested in supply chain issues and milk shortages.
Yes.
That is the latest item that is hitting our school or not hitting our school cafeterias as milk. We're having real milk shortages. I spent a lot of time on that today. But
Interesting.
no, yeah, I know, right? But otherwise we're good.
Oh boy.
I mean, I am interested in more details, but I might be the only one, so I won't ask anybody.
Thanks, Julie.
You bet.
Yeah, anyone else? Okay. Well, with that, another short but sweet Pedestrian Advisory Committee full meeting. Thanks everybody for attending. We appreciate it on this snowy white day. And we'll see you all again, hopefully at some subcommittee meetings, but if not, next month.
Yeah.
Yep.